Hi, Samantha.
Hello.
We're in person today.
I actually am looking across my microphone.
It's honestly a little weird.
And seeing you, this is wild.
Do you remember back in the day when you were excited to have a podcast?
Barely.
Yeah, I really don't either.
Barely. Someone on Twitter, though, reminded us of how excited we sounded at the very beginning.
It's like, wow.
Full of possibility.
We learned our lesson fast, though.
Yeah, we sure did. We were so naive back then.
I know. Well, hi, everyone. This is Perhaps It's You, your favorite Unsolved Mysteries Rewatch podcast. My name is Liz.
My name is Samantha. Do you think everyone's favorite podcasts always start with the podcast host complaining about having a podcast?
I think that
a thing that they don't have to do. They could, if you don't like doing it, you could just not do it.
And let down the five. I'm not sure I can live with myself. I'm not sure I can live with myself.
That's the thing.
I thought complaining about having a podcast was actually like required. I thought that was law. Am I mistaken?
I don't. Maybe I am. I'm mistaken.
I guess I'll look into that later. Call my lawyer. I'm just gonna stare at you the whole time. Just can't believe you're really here. Lennie, Pod Dog Lennie, was so excited that Samantha actually came today.
He was doing zoomies.
Yeah. He just sat down and howled to let everyone know she's really here. It was like a doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Like now the town crier.
Samantha. Yeah, he was quite excited.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Where is he?
I'm sure he followed Mac wherever.
Oh,
Mac went.
He's over it. He's like, all right, that was fun for 5 seconds. The reason we had to record in person today is because we're doing a snack time.
Heck yeah. A rare in-person snack time.
Rare in-person snack time thanks to listener Tawny, who sent us a package from Canada because we couldn't get these Hershey's bars.
I'm so excited to try these.
She says, Dear Mystery Ants, here are the snacks. They're thinner than I expected, and I tried to keep my cats from sitting on them. They need to sit on every new thing I bring into the house. I sent some sheet masks, and hopefully you don't have any allergies. Keep barking, and fuck the police. Tawny.
That's how every letter should end.
Yes. So we also you get a pick.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Do you want Black Pearl Brightening Mask or Glow Luminous Flower Firming Mask?
I want the first one, because sometimes floral scents get to me.
Here you go. Enjoy.
Oh, this is beautiful packaging.
It is very nice. Very luxurious.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason Tawny sent us a package is because there were these 2 Hershey bars that are only in Canada because the U.S. is the worst. And so we have a Hershey's bar that is...
cotton candy.
Yeah, and Samantha loves cotton candy things, so I wanted us to try this. And then there's also
very excited.
Salted caramel toffee and
I'm going to throw that one across to
you. They were very liquidy.
They melted.
So they've been sitting in my fridge. I don't know if that made them weird or not. So I'm just going to say that.
We'll see if that affects the flavor. Oh,
I'm just going to say that up front.
They're in pieces, so be careful when you open it.
I mean, they had a long journey, and that was the only way they could get to us.
Okay, I'm trying the cotton candy one. This is disgusting.
Wait, I want to try that one first. I can't believe you don't like it. You love cotton candy.
I sort of like the aftertaste, but there's or maybe it's because it melted, but I can't put my finger on the first thing that I'm hit with, but it's really gross.
Oh, I don't mind it. Oh, but I hate the aftertaste. Interesting. Okay, so at first I feel like it tastes like white chocolate. And then, as you go, it starts to taste like toothpaste.
It's a little artificial flavor to me. Which it's cotton candy, so obviously it is, but...
It's one of the sweetest things I've ever tasted in my
Maybe
life.
that's the problem. It's like too sweet.
Like I had the littlest sliver and now I'm like... Bzz.
And I took a big old bite out of it because...
I don't hate this though.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that. I'm excited to try the... I know. I am too. I would assume that I was going to love the cotton candy one.
Okay, let's try this one now.
Maybe it's the white chocolate mixed with the cotton candy that I don't like.
It definitely has a white chocolate flavor. And then you sort of get cotton candy as you go. It's really a whole journey.
Yeah.
Almost like wine.
We're like sommeliers of Hershey's white
like
chocolate.
More crunchy.
Okay, I'm into that. Let me see.
I'm not sure that it's supposed to be.
Well, Well, it's toffee. Like, I would assume
Oh, yeah,
there'd be,
those
like,
are the toffee bits. You're right.
toffee pieces in it.
Okay, this is a much more standard flavor. Again, one of the sweetest things I've ever tasted in my life.
It's very buttery.
Yeah. That's nice.
Actually, I really like this one.
That's nice.
This one I can get with. This is really good. I'm gonna take a bigger bite.
I've missed snack night time.
Yeah, that's good. I'm also gonna try these sour candies that you got for me.
Yeah, I found those in St. Paul yesterday. I can't read the Korean packaging, but it has the word sours on it really big. So, and I know Samantha loves sour candy, so I bought that for her.
I love sour candy. I love that. I mean, I can't read Korean either, so I cannot make out what flavors these are because they're not. You know how some fruit candy has pictures of the fruit that it's supposed to taste like?
Yeah.
This just has the candy, so it's just a green blob, a red blob. I'm thinking this might be mango because it's like a orangey yellow blob, and then a pink blob. So, okay, these are delicious. They're not sour at all, but they are delicious.
I got these at Dragon Star Oriental Foods, which is a gigantic store that just goes on in every direction. And the exciting thing about it is they now have a stand that has mochi donuts.
Ooh.
And those are delicious.
Yum.
And they make them fresh there.
Do you want to try these? They're super good.
Let's see. There's some pictures of some fruits on the back, but it's actually covered up by the, like, English ingredient label, so...
They're very chewy.
It looks like we get green apple, purple grape, lemon, and peach. I would like a peach. Okay, these are not that sour. There's just a little sour dusting.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of a normal gummy. And the mascots for this seem to be like a grasshopper and some sort of green blob wearing tuxedos. Which I'm not against.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
A grasshopper in a tuxedo. I don't know what that has to do with this sour candy. Presumably, if we could read the packaging, we would understand. But
he loves sours.
I guess.
It says sours #1, and they're holding up ones.
What I love about non-American fruit candies is that they always have really good flavor.
Way better flavors.
Much better flavor than...
Mac and I were just complaining the other day that American candies never come in white grape flavor. It's always purple grape. But you can get Asian candies that are white grape.
Interesting.
And I don't understand why we don't make that. It's so good.
It sounds way better than purple grape.
Yeah, purple grape.
No one likes
is disgusting.
Grape flavor. But if we had white grape...
I mean, it doesn't really taste like grape. It's like its own weird thing that I don't like.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, these are good. Not sour, but good.
Yes.
Thank you, Dragon Star Foods. I love you. Okay. Do we have any updates? Probably been doing 2 weeks in between shows as I completely forget about all of our updates.
I can't remember anything.
Samantha is holding a notebook to write your own Mothman romance, which is something that went out to our patrons.
What's it like of me and sexy Mothman?
What's it like seeing this in person, Samantha?
Wow, it's an experience. I will say the notebook looks way better in person.
They came out really nice.
It in my hand.
They came out really good. I think there's 50 pages in there, so you can really get writing.
Illustrated me looks great. I can't complain. Mothman's hairy chest is really something.
These were done by a friend of the pod, Brian Duffy. I think his website is yaduff.com, so check him out. He's a very talented illustrator. He did this for us. He did an illustration of the two of us with Robbie Stacky. Mm-hmm. He did an illustration of just Robert Stack and some mysterious mist.
I love it.
Hit it out of the park every time.
We should really get... I know we're very attached to our low-budget logo.
Oh, you want to get
our show art for...
The one I made in Canva 5 years ago for free isn't enough.
I mean, it's great. It's served us well. But think of how professional we could look if we had him do like a...
That's a really good point.
Like some show art for our show.
Fine.
I don't know. Although I don't know, like 5 years into this thing, if we can really step it up. Like, we've set the bar where it is, and I don't know if we want to start exceeding it.
They're like...
People might start expecting more from us.
I mean, I'm not against... having him do it. I'm just, yeah, exactly. I'm not really willing to put in more effort myself.
So
I'm willing to put in less effort.
We want people to kind of know what they're getting into when they subscribe to this podcast, which is, low effort.
Though I have to say, I take much better notes than I used to. I learned my lesson over the years.
Opposite.
I learned my lesson over the years where I would just kind of pull up Unsolved Mysteries wiki and just try to wing it. I don't do that
I feel
anymore.
like you're better at that than I am, though. And lately, I just have been winging it, and I'm not good at it. And so
I disagree. I think everybody loves this podcast, and if they don't, they can. Doesn't really matter. So this. The other. I wanted to just add one more detail about the women's voices being annoying thing.
Oh, let's hear it.
Which is that I learned from that thread, that Jane Lynch complaining about women's voices thing, that audio equipment, of course, this just never occurred to me, is specifically designed for lower voices.
Of course it is. This never occurred to me either, but yeah, duh.
So of course lower voices sound better. It's literally made for male voices. So if you have a lower voice, recording equipment is designed for a lower voice. It picks up a lower voice better. And if a higher voice sounds more annoying, it's probably because that's not really what people had in mind when they made it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So it's, again, thanks. Thanks, sexism. Thanks for that. They just reminded me of that book you read.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
What was that called?
God, no.
It's something about the statistics of how everything being designed for men is like literally fatal.
I'll look it up and I will get it. But it's true. Like, there are so many things that were not designed with women's bodies in mind. One of them being cars, seatbelts.
Right.
They were not, not designed for women, especially not designed for, like, say, pregnant women.
Right.
And so getting into a car crash as a woman, much higher chance of dying, and all kinds of other things.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, love that for us. Okay, so I don't think I had any other updates, and if I did, oh wait, we had a really great review. Shit. Well, we might have to just read that next time. I was like, I'll pull it up in our conversation, but that's going to take like 9 years. So thank you for everyone that says us great reviews, and
we love them.
We love them, and thank you. Okay, so we are on season 7, episode 14, and Samantha goes first this week. There's no theme this week. This is just a regular old episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes. This isn't missing person.
You know what? I don't even know. Because I don't know that we ever really know what happened.
Well, we don't really know what happened.
Technically.
Some people don't... Okay. Some people don't look great in this segment. That's all I'm going to say. Allegedly, some people look suspiciously guilty. So we don't really know what happened to Pamela Page, but I feel like I'm going to read the story to you and you're going to come away with some theories, which we will not speculate.
Yes, thank you.
But...
Mac really scared me the other day because some legal podcast that he listened to hadn't had a new episode in a year, and he assumed they just like got sick of doing it, and it turned out that they got sued for saying something about a different lawyer.
Oh.
And it was kind of a nuisance lawsuit thing. I don't know that there was really like a lot of validity to it. He was just like pissed. But then I was like, oh my God, Mac, this is going to happen to me and Samantha. And he was like, what do you say about people? Why would you get sued? I was like, we literally imply people commit murder, Mac.
Isn't that every true crime podcast, though?
But it just takes one person to get mad at you to get sued.
That's really true.
So, allegedly, we know nothing, okay?
No, and honestly, we don't. Like,
we're just saying what we saw on Unsolved Mysteries is a TV show, and it's entirely their fault.
Yes.
Everything we say, blame on them.
Well, first of all, blame it on Unsolved Mysteries. Also, it's our opinion. I mean, obviously.
Yes.
Are we any kind of legal expert? No.
No.
We're just two people who watch Unsolved Mysteries, and we don't even like Unsolved Mysteries that much.
Samantha, you're not supposed to admit that.
So...
We did before we started making a podcast about it. It turns out when you turn the thing you like into labor, you like it less. Wow. That's a lesson we've learned.
Something who could have predicted.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just two people who watch a TV show and then talk about it to 5 people. So we are inconsequential.
Oh my God, do not sue us. Also, this podcast is made by Perhaps It's Us LLC. So you can't sue us personally.
We'll give you all $300 in our bank account.
Yeah. I was just like, wow, if we get sued, that's just it. We just declare bankrupt. The company declares bankruptcy. We fold up. There's no more podcasts. We're done.
We hand over our
$312.14
or whatever it is.
Go.
Enjoy. And we just stop making this podcast.
Yeah, it did scare me though.
Yeah. So You'll understand why this is on our minds when I finish reading you the story of Pamela Page. So we're in Peoria, Arizona.
I didn't know there was a Peoria, Arizona.
Yeah, as someone who hails from a Peoria.
I know, my whole family's from Peoria, Illinois.
Not Arizona,
I didn't
but...
know this existed.
So it's here's how Robert Stack describes it. It's a comfortable suburb just outside of Phoenix. Pam and Rob Page moved to Peoria, Arizona in 1977, and by all accounts, their marriage was solid. On July 22nd, 1989, Rob came home to an empty house and a letter from Pam. Pam wrote that she had left town with a woman named Sarah.
Yeah, Pam wrote that. Got it.
Someone purporting to be Pam wrote that Pam had left town with a woman named Sarah, and that she had been planning this for a long time. Rob claimed he was embarrassed because he thought his wife had left him for a woman. He did not notify Pam's family in Arkansas that she was gone. 4 days later, when Pam's oldest sister, Trina, called saying, "Where the fuck is Pam?" she was surprised to learn that Pam had disappeared.
Yeah, that would be surprising.
She says that it seemed out of character for her not to let anyone know where she was. She was very close with her family. But at first she did not think that like anything bad had happened to Pam. But she did want to get word to people that she was missing. So Pam's father...
She was probably like, oh, Pam needed some time away from this Rob guy. No surprise.
Yeah. I mean... I don't think you want to assume the worst at first, and so she didn't, but she did think that it was a little bit odd and out of character. So, Pam's father, Willie Frisbee...
No.
His name,
how did I miss that?
His name is Willie Frisbee.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Take it back. Willie Frisbee.
Why is that name so funny to me?
Because it's like a cartoon.
Willie Frisbee.
If you put that in a book if you were writing the Great American Novel and you were like, and my character Willie Frisbee, the editor would go, change that immediately. No one is going to take this seriously if your character is named Willie Frisbee.
William Tennis Ball.
Yeah, exactly.
So Willie Frisbee asked.
No, stop it.
Yes.
Stop it.
To see the letter.
Jimmy Pool Noodle. No, it's not a name. How often on this show do I end up going, that's not a name?
It's like every episode. Although Willie Frisbee is a new level. Maybe he had a brother named...
We had a Rusty Corvette once.
That's true.
There's a Rusty Corvette out
there. That was
there.
a fake name, though.
That one was fake?
I thought that was fake.
Okay. That's a
Am I thinking with the wrong Rusty?
There's been a lot of Rusties, and you should trust none of them. I can't remember now. I feel like you shouldn't pick that as a fake name, because it sounds fake as hell. You shouldn't pick Willie Frisbee either.
No, obviously you should be Johnny Pool Noodle.
Yeah, like a normal person.
So
oh my God.
because this is the past, Rob faxed him a copy.
Amazing.
Willie was immediately distressed. He says when he received the letter...
Yeah, because he saw his own name on his driver's license.
I forgot I was named Willie Frisbee.
Of course he was distressed. How well did his parents treat him if that's what they named him?
Well, he was actually distressed by Pam's name on the letter. So this was a typed letter, but at the bottom...
You know when you're going to leave your husband and you pull out the typewriter and you type out, "I am leaving you." And it was like long, too.
It was like a whole page.
I've been planning this for a long time. I'm going to take all the money. I'm leaving with someone named Sarah you've never met.
Very detailed. She said exactly, we'll get to it, but she outlines where she left her car. But at the bottom there was a handwritten signature of Pam, and they show a signature side by side, the signature on the letter with the signature that is known to have been Pam's, and they don't look alike.
Yes. Allegedly, someone is not good at forging signatures.
Well, not even allegedly. We'll get to it. Like, this he admitted to.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Later in the episode. So this does not look like Pam's signature. And so much so that her dad, Willie Frisbee, he was immediately distressed by the fact that he was like, this is not my daughter's signature.
Also, I find the idea, I think if you're going to leave your husband in a letter, you would fucking write it by hand. Unless there's some reason why you couldn't do that.
It was a long letter. I mean, her hand would get tired.
But I don't know. It seems very formal to me that you would type it out and then sign it like you're applying for a job.
Yes.
Like you're,
it's weird.
Like you're old school mailing in your cover letter in like the literal mail.
It's weird. And it also just, it's almost like, okay, like this is again speculation on my part, but you know how when some people lie, they like spin a yarn where there's so many details because you're like, well, I have to make this sound convincing, so I'm going to put in, this is where I left the car, and I took this amount of money, and I'm leaving with a woman named Sarah. It's like, it's a little bit too deep. Whereas I feel like if you were leaving your husband, you would just be like,
see you never.
You would take a napkin out. Yeah, you would grab a napkin and be like, I'm leaving your ass, Pam.
You know,
and then
like, I loved you once, but this isn't working. Bye.
Bye. Right. Yes. So he dug out some birthday cards that had written by Pam and compared the signature, and it wasn't even close.
I don't know why it's like he didn't even try.
No. I mean, when you look at him side by side, you can sort of see how someone, like, how they were trying to emulate Pam's signature, but there's just parts of it that are just like, this isn't how she wrote her P. Like, yeah,
okay, I'm going to confess something right now. Whoa. Which is that on basically any card, this is to my family, any card you have ever received from me and Mac that is signed by me and then Mac.
Are you just scribbling Mac?
Yeah.
I do that. This is a confession to my family who doesn't watch this, who doesn't listen to this, but yeah, I do the same thing.
I scribble.
I use my left hand.
I will write Liz in cursive, and then I will put a little and then I will write Mac in all caps. And I've been doing this our entire relationship. So it's very possible that you do not have an example of Mac's handwriting and you think that you do.
See, this, I mean, you've admitted this in the podcast now, but if Mac were to up and leave a typed out no with Mac signed at the bottom.
I think we all agreed that would be weird if he typed it out, printed it, and then just in all block caps at the bottom, Mac. It'd be very odd.
Well, now his family isn't gonna, they're gonna, you know, it's gonna look just like his alleged signature, even though it's been your signature all along. I
literally started doing it for our wedding thank you cards and never stopped. So, sorry. It's
just convenient. Sometimes, look.
Am I really gonna go get him from the other room and bring the pet? Like, no! No, just be glad you got a card. That's my confession for today.
All right, so here's the first, maybe the second shady thing. So Rob told Pam's family that he had filed a missing persons report, but when one of Pam's sisters called the local police, she discovered they had never even heard of Pam before, and there was no such case opened.
That was, foolish.
Yes. So detectives began their investigation by questioning Rob Page. He told them that on the day of Pam's disappearance, he had gone to several auto parts stores. There was a part before this. I don't know if I wrote it down. Like the night before according to Rob, the night before she was like ill and on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
And they owned a video store, which seems to have been like very successful based on their cars and
how much money they had in the safe.
This video store was
making bank.
Making bank in Peoria, Arizona.
I loved all the reenactment shots of the video store. It's so good.
How did you feel about his truck that had like the name of the video store on the side with like?
I liked when Robert Stack was like, he had a very distinctive truck, and then showed us the picture, and you're like, yep. The point being, like, if that was parked somewhere for hours, like, probably someone would have noticed. But yeah, it's a pickup. It's a large pickup truck, particularly for the time. It's painted like
blue and green,
and it has the logo for the video store quite large down the entire side. And I feel like maybe there was like a decal of like something dripping.
Yeah, it was. They didn't get a close-up shot, so I couldn't really tell. But it was almost like some sort of video equipment or something.
Yeah.
Like it was a very distinctive logo. So anyway, so she's ill the night before she leaves and sleeps on the couch. She says her back is hurting. She's according to him,
my back is hurting. I want the supportive couch.
Yeah, I didn't understand this. Look, not very little of the story makes sense. So she's, according to Rob, on the couch, going, like, when he sees her, she's like going through family photos or something and crying. And then when asked about it, she says she wasn't feeling well. Her back hurts. She's sleeping on the couch. The next morning, she's like folding clothes, but she still isn't feeling well. He offers to go open the video store for her. So that's where we pick up. And he tells detectives that on the day, so when he comes home from wherever so he left to go to the video store, he comes home 8 hours later, and that's when he finds this note like on the floor in front of the front door. So detectives are asking him, like, what were you doing during that time, the day of Pam's disappearance? And he says that his truck had this issue with the ignition where it wouldn't start. And so he says he drives all over, he went to several auto part stores looking for the correct part. He says during this time he called home and got no answer. He eventually had to call for a taxi, according to him, because his truck would not start. And he says that he never went into the house, only the garage. He got the part for his truck and rode his bike back to the store.
Oh, this is so complicated. Again, it being complicated. Stories usually do not continue to get more complicated as people ask questions if they're true. They simplify.
Yeah.
But when things are lies and you ask questions, in order to make it come together, they tend to get more and more complicated.
Well, the other thing that this is doing, and I don't feel like I'm laying it out very well, but like his truck is parked in front of the house all day, even though he says that he went to open the video store.
Right.
Because witnesses see it. And so he has to explain why his truck is parked in front of his house all day. And what he says is that when his truck has this issue and has had this issue for a while, in which it doesn't, like, the ignition doesn't start. And so he says that he was unable to find the right part, and so he ended up getting a taxi and going home and getting his bike and then taking the bike to the video store. And this is why, and you know, this could be true, this is why my truck is in front of the house all day. Because of course, if you were helping your wife disappear, maybe you would be home that day and not at the video store. And so he has to explain that, and that's where this complicated story comes from. Okay, so he got the part for his truck, rode his bike back to the store, whatever. When the truck finally started, he drove home, and that's when he found the letter. In it, Pam stated that she had taken all of their money, $60,000 in cash, out of the safe at the video store. Rob said he went to the store and confirmed that the cash was gone. So the letter also stated that Pam had left the couple's Corvette at the local donut shop.
Why?
Maybe she wanted a donut for her journey.
And then was like, also, I don't want this car. I do want a donut. Not the car, though. Bye.
If you were going somewhere, you would think you'd take the car.
But he wants it. He wasn't willing to part, allegedly. So allegedly, he wasn't willing to part with the Corvette. Even if it would have made the story more believable, allegedly.
Yeah, so Rob claimed that he found the car the next day at the donut shop where she had said it was. Soon, the police began to question the details of Rob's story. So, for instance, none of the employees at the last auto parts store remembered Rob being there or anyone else looking for that part, which was an ignition switch, apparently. There was another problem with Rob's story. He had said that his truck, which was very distinctive, was parked at the store for nearly 4 hours that afternoon, but none of the employees ever recalled seeing the truck in front of the store or anyone working on it. Okay, so I got that part wrong. It wasn't that they saw his car at the house, it's that it wasn't where he said it was, which was at the store all day. Finally, 3 weeks after Pam disappeared, the Arizona State Crime Lab confirmed that the signature on the letter was almost certainly not Pam's.
Oh, great work.
We hear from a Detective Sergeant Doug Hildebrandt, who questioned Rob on this issue and says that Mr. Page refused to believe me and was adamant that his wife had in fact signed the letter. After continuing to question Mr. Page about the signature on the letter, he eventually admitted to me that he in fact did sign the letter. So this is what I said earlier, which is that he admits that he signed it. But according to him, it was just like trying to make it more believable or something.
He found the letter on the computer, not printed out. For some reason, added a couple closing sentences, printed it out, and signed it.
Yeah, the story changes. So originally, it was that he came home after 8 hours of doing all this stuff and found the letter on the floor in front of the front door. After he admits that he had, in fact, signed it, he found the letter on the computer, printed it out, and then confronted his wife about it, and she got upset. So
I named Doug's cop mustache.
What did you name it?
You bore me. It's a really standard.
It was so boring
mustache.
that I don't even remember.
That's literally what I named it. Rob, there's a reenactment Rob, and I also named his mustache, which is this guy. It's like almost, you have to say it while rolling your eyes, or you don't pronounce it right.
You need
this
to get the tone.
guy.
Yeah.
That's what it's named.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't name real Rob's mustache because he's a dirtbag and he doesn't deserve it.
So this was a stunning turnaround, enough to make Rob Page a suspect. Suddenly, he began to tell a completely different story. So this is what I said. Now, Rob insisted that he had actually found the letter in the family computer a few days before Pam disappeared, stating that she would be leaving him. He also claimed that he confronted his wife upon discovering the letter. According to Rob's new story, a few days after the confrontation, he came home to find the house a mess. Mm-hmm. Rob told police that most of Pam's clothes were gone, along with the family pictures and one of their dogs. What was their dog's name? It was like a video name. Oh, shoot. No, I'm not going to remember.
Oh.
It was so funny.
It was really funny. I don't remember. Let's just pretend it was Betamax. That wasn't it, though.
It wasn't, but it was some sort of video. Apparently, this video store was their whole life. Very funny. So, Pam's credit cards and house keys were on the kitchen table, but Rob couldn't find her driver's license.
Actually, Betamax is such a good name for a dog. Someone please name their dog Betamax.
Well, you're going to have to get a third dog now and name it that.
It's like Max, but better.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Let us name your dog.
Yeah. That's a service we can provide. If you sign up for the Lennie Briscoe
I was going to say,
fan club
that should be a bonus for the Lennie Briscoe fan club level. We'll name your dog.
We will name your dog.
Even if you don't have a dog, if you just want a good name to like keep in your back pocket from when you get one.
Absolutely.
Actually, we'll name other pets too. Do you have a lizard? We'll name your lizard.
Absolutely.
Send it in. So, the Perhaps It's You podcast pet naming service.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
what?
like Cameo, only better.
Your lizard is now named TJ Maxx. Your other lizard, Home Goods.
For some reason, hot dog was the only thing that I could think of.
For a lizard? Yeah. I like that for a
lizard.
This
is my lizard hot dog.
This is my lizard hot dog. This is my lizard Willy Frisbee.
And Johnny Pool Noodle.
Yeah, exactly. There's been some great names on this show.
Yeah, we're so good. You've been practicing your whole life because you've been naming these mustaches.
My whole life, yeah.
Your whole life you've been naming mustaches.
This
is canon now.
The names just come to me from the ether.
The same thing with pet names.
Yeah. Your
TJ Maxx.
Your lizard is named Johnny Pool Noodle now.
Okay, so Rob claims that after making these discoveries, he decided to act. He went downstairs and added 4 sentences to the letter on the computer.
Why would you do that?
Printed it out and signed Pam's name. I assume the sentences he added were I'm leaving you. Or something. Like, what? I don't even know.
You were the best lover I ever had, and yet I must go.
I was so confused about why your dick was so big. You had such an awesome truck.
You just have... you have the best personality, and there's really not a single flaw. Everything, this is all me. I just need to find myself with my lesbian lover, Sarah.
I loved your mustache.
Yeah. If only it could be all mustaches and video stores and dogs with cool names, but alas, I must go. The wind is calling.
I'm gonna need you to, write a weirdly specific, too long, too detailed goodbye letter.
I'm trying to think of how...
You could sign it Willy Pool Noodle or whatever.
Trying to think how that could possibly be a coloring sheet. I don't know how you can color a goodbye letter.
It could be like a Mad Lib.
Yes. Okay, that's
so you have to put in a noun, and then you have
goodbye letter Mad Lib.
And then I want people to fill out. So instead of a coloring sheet, you can have coloring elements, but it could be a Mad Lib, and then I want to see your Mad Libs.
Yes, that's such a good idea. I love it.
So look for that. Okay, so yeah, blah, blah, he added to the letter, signed it. He then drove her Corvette to the donut shop, went to the payphone across the street, and called a taxi.
Why? Again, why?
I don't know, because unless the car at the donut shop was part of what he added, you're to assume that she did what she said she was going to do in the letter, right?
Right. So why would he have to do it?
I don't know. He must have added that part. I do not.
But then again, why?
See what I'm saying? This is allegedly suspicious. So Mr. Page stated that he fabricated some of the things he did because no one, quote, no one would ever believe him that his wife had in fact left him.
Why? Why was that so hard to believe?
Because he was the best husband ever, Liz, and so no one would believe.
Just look at my truck and my Corvette. No woman would ever go.
So, due to Mr. Page's inconsistent statements, this is Detective Hildebrandt again. the suspicious circumstances surrounding the disappearance of his wife, he was offered a polygraph examination on several occasions to eliminate him as a suspect in his wife's disappearance, and he declined. You know, whatever. That's probably a good thing. That was smart on his move. So, despite the suspicions about Rob Page, police found no evidence that he had done anything wrong except to change his story. No charges were filed, and the investigation ground to a halt. As a last resort, Pam's sister, Jimmy Rice... It's not as weird as Willie Frisbee,
No.
but she consulted...
Nothing will ever be as weird as that.
She consulted Carol Pate, a psychic in Little Rock, Arkansas. Pate had worked with the Little Rock police for 10 years, which was very troubling, working only from a photo of Pam. The psychic said that she saw Pam with a man in what appeared to be Pam's house. The two were arguing. Carol claims she saw the man knock Pam to the floor and suffocate her with a pillow. Another female came and assisted him in placing her in the trunk. She said the two drove somewhere and that she saw the name Coolidge and the numbers 241. She then saw a gray factory near a railroad. Finally, the man pulled out, removed the body, and began to dig. Okay.
Wow, this is distressing.
Jana Thorson, an Arizona newspaper reporter covering Pam's disappearance, followed up on these clues. She found a gray factory building near some railroad tracks in Peoria. Nearby, she found a sign with the numbers 241. A route that ran from Bob and Pam's house to the home of a friend passed both of these sites and ended at a street named Coolidge. However, there is no way to evaluate Carol Pate's information until it is known whether Pam Page met with foul play or chose to disappear. As for Rob Page, he still insists that his wife is alive. Rob Page has since divorced his missing wife. Police say he is no longer a suspect in the case, but they still have no idea what happened to Pam Page. Let me look at the Unsolved Mysteries wiki and see if there's an update.
Yeah, I mean, why would he have anything to do with it?
It's suspicious. It's suspicious. The fact that he changed his story, the fact that he admits to filling in details in this letter and signing it and planting evidence, it's just...
There doesn't seem to be any other suspects.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh.
So he can't sue us. So... So this is unresolved. Rob passed away from cancer in 2009 and was never charged in Pam's case. Some reports claim that he was cleared as a suspect, while others state that police still consider him a suspect in her disappearance.
Oh, you don't say.
In July 2017, almost 28 years to the day of Pam's disappearance, her family received a formal letter from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. The letter states that based on new interviews and investigations, if Robert Page was alive today, he would have been charged with second-degree murder in Pam's case.
Oh.
Due to his death, the office considers the case closed. However, her family is still hoping to find her remains. Sadly,
So sad.
Sadly, Willie Frisbee has left us. He passed away.
I'm sorry we laughed at your name, Willie Frisbee. I in my defense, what choice did I have? But rest in peace.
Yes.
Okay, now we have an unexplained death. I will say right off the bat that I did not name any mustaches in this segment. There were a lot of them, but they were mostly on people who tragically died, and so my heart just was not in it.
Yeah, you
No.
know, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not.
There was no mustache naming. So just after Thanksgiving, November 29th, 1988, fire trucks raced to extinguish two small blazes burning at the edge of Kansas City. One fire quickly got out of control after an unexpected explosion. As a result, five firefighters
That is a tongue twister.
lost their lives. Michael Oldman, Robert McCarran, James Kivelton, Gene Hurd, Thomas Fry, and Gerald Halloran. All were married and all had children. Unfortunately, this fire was deliberately set, making their deaths murder. Robert Stack called this Kansas City's most notorious unsolved crime, but by this point it has been solved. So here's what happened. The fire was first reported by two construction workers at 3:40 in the morning. Not really sure why they were there. They should have...
I thought these were security guards.
Oh, maybe. Maybe they were security guards for the construction site.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were security guards.
Okay. So they call in a fire at 3:40 in the morning because one of their pickup trucks was engulfed in flames. Yeah, I think you're right, actually. They were security guards for the construction company, not, like, laborers. Okay. So they saw, so one of their pickup trucks was on fire, and they also saw about 50 yards away there was a second fire near a storage trailer. The firefighters quickly responded to the call. They were out the door in 90 seconds. From the very beginning, it looked like arson because the two fires appeared to start suspiciously at the same time,
Right.
which probably wouldn't really happen on its own. At first, there was one fire truck working on the truck, and then a second fire truck was called to work on this second fire that was by the trailer. After about 8 minutes, the truck fire was done, and both fire trucks were working on the fire on the trailer. The security guards who called in the fire warned the firemen that there were explosives on the construction site. This seems to be, there was sort of an error in communication. The security guards told the firefighters that there were explosives on the site. The fire captain assumes that they were safely contained in these metal sheds called bunkers, which are specifically for storing explosives in the event of fires so that they don't get more out of control.
Right.
And they saw that there were 2 of these bunkers on site, and they assumed that all of the explosives were in there. But the security guards were actually trying to warn them that they believed there was also explosives inside the trailer.
Yep.
But this information didn't get to the firefighters working in time. So the trailer exploded. And this explosion was huge. I don't know how they did the reenactment for this.
This reenactment, they must have had a lot of fun creating this.
Well, because it's something that was seen and heard for miles around. Right. So you get this shot of like an old lady looking out her window and just
like a mushroom cloud.
Yeah, just like a giant orange blaze going up in the night sky. I don't know. There was also a second smaller explosion about 40 minutes later.
Yeah, this was hard because these firefighters responded to the explosion and they knew that, they knew each other. And so they knew that in there, their fellow firefighters could be hurt, but they weren't able to go in because they were afraid of a second explosion. And in fact, there was one. Yeah,
so it's good that they were cautious, and actually we'll learn that even if they had risked their own, it was too late. So there was no need for them to put themselves in danger, and there probably would have been even more deaths.
Yep.
The next day, ATF joined the local police to start sorting through the wreckage for clues. The devastation was massive. In total, no one could have survived that first blast, which is why I was saying it's good that the responders didn't try to go in and save them, because they could have been killed in that second explosion, and there's no way anyone could have survived. We hear from one of those responders that he was in the Vietnam War and had seen explosion craters left by bombers, and that these were larger.
Wow.
So it's a pretty massive explosion.
How could they be storing? I mean, it's wild to me that they were able to store these like massive amount of explosives in a trailer that's like not labeled, or like,
yeah, it's really, I mean,
I wonder if like things changed as a result of this, because
I mean, obviously they weren't following protocol because the explosives should have been in those bunkers. I'm wondering if they had even more explosives than would fit, and they were like planning to get another one or something.
Right.
They just got kind of sloppy. But yeah, it's, in a way, it's sort of the construction company's fault that this fire was so deadly, because they were not following the rules. Okay, so we hear from the police that one potential... Okay, sorry, I got ahead of myself. The public was outraged by the death of these firefighters and were very eager to help. They were contacted with hundreds of potential leads. One of those potential leads was the possibility that this was a labor issue. There had recently been conflicts between union and non-union construction companies in the area. Examples were damaging equipment with acid, putting dirt into diesel lines, and even setting equipment on fire. So the police theorized that if it had not been for the death of these firefighters, which presumably the people setting the fire didn't know there was explosives in the trailer, right? Like, you wouldn't think it would cause that kind of impact. Like, they could have exploded things if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They set a fire. They were expecting to burn things down. So if it wasn't for the death of these firefighters, would it have seemed like a very similar incident to these union disputes? But it turns out that that's not what it was. So the update is that after the story aired, 5 suspects were arrested and found guilty on federal arson charges. They were George Frank Shepard, his brother Earl, their nephew Brian Shepard, Frank Shepard's girlfriend Darlene Edwards, and just someone named Richard Brown. Otherwise, a family affair. At trial, prosecutors claimed the fires were set as an attempt to steal dynamite and equipment.
How would a fire help you do that?
Not really sure. But I don't think they found anything to the union theory.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
it was like they were trying to... I don't know if it was supposed to be a distraction for the security people.
Okay, maybe.
That, like, while they're putting out the fires, that they're like, oh no, my truck's on fire, and then they don't notice what they're stealing?
Yeah.
To distract... I don't know. They didn't... Unsolved Mysteries didn't really give us much detail on the prosecution's case. Each of them was sentenced to life. Earl is now deceased. Brian went on to serve 22 years and was released with a reduced sentence. I assume everyone else is still in prison.
Okay.
It's a sad case.
It's so sad.
It's not something we've really had before, I don't think.
No. Yeah, this is a unique one. It was so sad when they show the, like, memorial service for them in, like, that school football field or whatever, and how everyone came out and their families were so upset. And yeah, lots of mustaches, as you can imagine, from a firefighter mystery. But
yeah, my heart wasn't in it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so our last mystery is, this is a unexplained death or a missing person. I keep not writing these down and not remembering.
I have no idea.
This was our debonair drug dealer, Wallace Thrasher.
Oh, yes, the gentleman drug dealer. Yes. The mystery is, how can one man be so cool?
So, on October 17, 1984, in Western Virginia's remote mountain wilderness...
Okay, wait. There's so much on Unsolved Mysteries Wiki about this firefighter thing. Should I read this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. So, I should have looked this up sooner, but... Results. Captured as a result of the broadcast, 5 people were indicted for arson and murder. We already talked about that. Over the years, investigators heard from multiple witnesses who claimed the suspects had bragged about setting the fires, which, whoa.
Not something to brag about.
No.
Killed 5 people.
Also, everyone in town, like, these seemed like very... No one writes a song called Fuck the Fire Department, right? Like,
yeah, firefighters are heroes, yeah.
Yeah, they were like beloved people in town with families. Like, everyone missed them. It wasn't like people were like, good, glad they're gone, right? Like, this was a tragedy felt by the whole city.
Yeah, not something you brag about in a bar.
Going around like, ooh, I set those fires that killed those 5 nice men. Anyway, so several came forward as a result of the broadcast. Investigators determined that the fires were deliberately set as an attempt to steal equipment and dynamite from the construction site. At the trial, dozens of witnesses testified against the suspects. I love that everyone hated them. Other evidence, including statements by them, were also brought up. In 1995, Darlene made a tape-recorded statement with investigators claiming that she drove Brian and Richard to the construction site where they planned to set fires to distract the security guards while they stole equipment. Look at me! I'm so smart. Okay. Other witnesses claimed that she had confessed to helping steal equipment and tools from the construction site. So, how involved Darlene was apparently was up for debate. 15 witnesses also testified that Richard said that he went to the construction site to steal equipment and had taken part in setting the fires. 7 witnesses testified that Earl had admitted to being involved in the fires and stealing equipment. 13 witnesses testified to the admissions made by Brian, including that he had helped set the fires as a diversion for the security guards, but he had been haunted by the firefighters' deaths. 12 witnesses testified about, oh my goodness, to admissions by George, including that he had set the fires, blah, 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 that he had someone drive them to the site, that he was unable to open the truck or the trailer to get the equipment. So it sounds like it didn't even, work. Wow, great plan.
Why would it? I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand how fire plays into a robbery in any way, but whatever.
Along with the suspect's admissions to others, prosecutors introduced other crucial testimony. Darlene's daughter, Becky, testified that she had seen all suspects together 1 week before the fire, talking about their plans to steal equipment from the construction site. Other witnesses also saw them together in the weeks preceding and after the fire. Furthermore, a witness testified to they had so much evidence in this. I love that it's like, well, then 15 people came forward. We had them all testify about how guilty
I know this is
are.
not how it works, but I'm imagining just a parade of people walking into the courtroom.
It's like, did you see this too? Yes? Okay. You? Yes? Okay. Furthermore, a witness testified to seeing Richard's truck speeding away from the site just minutes after the first explosion. George and Earl were also seen at their mother's house shortly after the explosion, and she lived just minutes away from the site. Finally, a witness claimed to have seen Brian and Richard together a few hours after the fire. They both smelled like gasoline. Brian had several unexplained cuts and abrasions. All five suspects... Wow, that's a lot of evidence.
Yes.
They seem extremely guilty. All 5 suspects were found guilty and sentenced to a life in prison. However, in 2007, a former employee of the construction site came forward to suggest that others may have been involved in the arson, including the 2 security guards who were at the construction site the night of the explosion. The former employee claimed to see one of them running away from a burning truck that night. So there's currently a police investigation going into that.
Interesting.
Earl died in 2009 at the age of 49. Brian served his 22 years, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
All right. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. So, yes, this is Wallace Thrasher, our debonair drug dealer.
Oh, how is he so cool?
The Squirrel.
That was his nickname, everyone. The Squirrel.
Robert Stack really enjoys saying his nickname in this segment, talking about how the squirrel scampered away and such. So, on October 17th, 1984, in Western Virginia's remote mountain wilderness, state troopers arrived on the scene of a small airplane crash. Still strapped into the cockpit was a body, charred beyond recognition. In the back of the plane, 1,200 pounds of, quote, high-grade marijuana, worth more than $1 million.
Do you think Robert Stack tested some of that marijuana?
Himself.
And he was like, oh,
he was there in the remote Virginia wilderness,
he was like,
sampling.
You're right, this is primo shit, he
high
said.
grade. Eventually, authorities would connect both the plane and the dead pilot to Wallace Thrasher of Bland County, Virginia. What a name. Bland County.
I'm never moving there, I'm going to say
Bland
right now.
County.
If you live in Bland County, let us know what it's like. Is it really bland?
You can't put salt on any of your food. The law.
No flavoring, yeah.
Yeah. So, in high school, Thrasher was a member of the Key Club and the Latin Club. He played on the football team and earned the nickname the Squirrel for his ability to outrun trouble.
That's a pretty solid nickname. It's silly, but it's like for a good reason.
Do you think Robert Stack kind of like could see himself a little bit in the Squirrel?
I assumed. He's like, if my life had taken a slightly different turn, he would be a gentleman drug dealer.
Right. Yeah, because Robert Stack repeatedly tells us how suave this young man was.
Maybe he was falling in love just a little bit.
A little bit, just a tiny bit.
So, yeah.
Thrasher, he wanted some of that high-grade marijuana.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, wait, how good was it? Tell me where is it now? It's just in an evidence locker. That's a waste.
People send me evidence all the time.
Yeah, let me touch the evidence. I want to get my fingerprints all over it.
This would really enhance the broadcast if I had a brick in
I bet he tried. He was like,
he's in the writer's room. Like, how can we get a prop? It's just gonna be a prop, guys. Don't worry.
Don't worry about what happens to it after the broadcast is done.
Thrasher didn't seem the type who would end up peddling drugs. I don't know what that means, but somewhere along the line, his life took, quote, a wrong turn.
Oh my God.
Beginning in the 70s, Thrasher allegedly built an operation that flew tons of marijuana and cocaine into the western region of Virginia. Distributors then smuggled the drugs north to Chicago, Detroit, and other big cities. According to W.J. Evans of the Virginia State Police, Thrasher often piloted the plane himself. Quote, he wasn't afraid to let anybody or everybody know what he was doing. Basically, everyone that had contact with him at the airport and in the areas where he was doing his drug business knew he was transporting drugs.
And they're just like picturing this guy at his high school reunion, and they're like, "Oh, it's a squirrel. What are you up to these days?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm a debonair drug dealer. I fly my own plane. It's fucking boss.
It's full of drugs. You have no idea how much cocaine.
So much drugs. I am
flying
around the life." You knew the squirrel would go off to great things, and I have.
You know what's funny is that the very next line in my notes is Thrasher used the drug money to live the good life.
Oh, see?
So he really was. He and his wife owned a 10-acre country estate and basked in opulence and luxury, according to Robert Stack. I think he is a little in love.
I think Robert Stack is
does someone need to take over his company?
I was like, Robert Stack, I think you are basking in opulence. Are you okay? Yeah.
With his 6 yachts.
Yeah, that we made up that he has. He's like, I had to leave my poolside of my mansion to come film
Put on this trench coat. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you work for like 45 minutes per episode. I think you're okay.
Basking in opulence and luxury. Yeah, that does describe Robert Stack. Also the squirrel. For 10 years, Thrasher stayed 2 steps ahead of the law until the night of October 17, 1984.
Just sounds like a phrase from like a old country song.
2 steps ahead of the law.
2 steps ahead of the law.
When one of his pilots slammed an airplane full of marijuana into the mountainside.
Well, don't do that. That's a bad idea.
No, it'd be bad for business.
Yeah.
Who are you going to sell that marijuana to? Now the feds have it. So
they're just going to steal it. They don't pay.
2 weeks later, investigators finally proved that Thrasher owned the plane. Detectives were planning to move in, but then an article appeared in the local paper stating that Wallace had died in another plane crash, this one in Jamaica. So it's a little confusing, but there's 2 plane crashes.
I was confused about that.
This one that crashed in Virginia seems like it wasn't him, although I don't know that they were ever able to identify the pilot. And then there's
it was me. I'm real bad at flying planes.
And I might even be confusing this. Let me read on my notes because I don't know if this other plane crash was real or if the paper was confused. We know that you were flying the plane, so
yeah, I'm the flying squirrel.
You're the. Why didn't they call him the? Well, I guess he got this nickname in high school. He wasn't flying drug planes then. So, but it does seem like he was the flying squirrel.
They should have upgraded the nickname.
They should have painted a squirrel with a little helmet on the side of the plane.
Yes,
the little scarf blowing behind.
Yeah, and then it should have said drugs inside since he was
not shy about telling people with a little arrow pointing to the cargo.
Honestly, if you painted that on the side of the plane, they probably would think you wouldn't have drugs inside, right?
You know what? Hide in plain sight.
I think maybe just
get all of your drug smuggling advice from this podcast.
Definitely. I mean, I haven't been caught once. I also haven't smuggled any drugs, but
details.
Yeah.
Virginia authorities tried to interview Thrasher's widow, but she never made herself available. She remained in seclusion, but produced a death certificate documenting her husband's fatal crash in Jamaica. Police were able to prove that the death certificate was fraudulent. They also found no evidence of the Jamaican crash. See, this is where I was even confused. There was also no witnesses to this alleged Jamaican crash. This seems to not be real. Believing that Thrasher was still alive, the police filed charges against him. Eventually, his wife agreed to tell investigators all she knew. When talking about the crash in Virginia, she said that there had been a second pilot on board the aircraft. The pilot was injured badly, but managed to drag himself to a payphone and call Thrasher. Thrasher picked him up at the very moment police were racing to the crash scene. He knew that the plane could be traced back to him, and it was only a matter of time before the authorities would be knocking at his door.
Yeah, because he painted the flying squirrel drugs inside on the side of the plane.
Well, there was also the $1 million worth of marijuana scattered across the mountainside.
It had his home address painted on the bottom of the plane.
Yep, the picture of the painted squirrel also.
He was like, they'll know it was me. I wonder how.
Thrasher took the pilot to an out-of-state hospital, then dropped out of sight. Thrasher's wife said he stuffed $250,000 in cash in a travel bag and left Virginia for Belize in Central America.
All right.
She thought her husband was planning to buy a load of marijuana and return to the United States, but some think that the squirrel never intended to come home, and that $250,000 was a down payment on a new life.
Whoa.
About a week later, Mrs. Thrasher received a call.
I don't know why that's funny to me.
Mrs. Squirrel.
Mrs. Thrasher.
Mrs. Squirrel.
That'd be a good, pro wrestling name.
Mrs. Thrasher?
Yeah.
Thrasher is a good name.
Yeah.
It's not like Frisbee.
No, Thrasher's good.
Yeah, Thrasher will instill some dread. So Mrs. Thrasher received a call from one of her husband's associates. The man told her that her husband had been killed in a plane crash on takeoff. Planes crashing all over.
Yeah, jeez.
Agent Donald Lincoln of the Drug Enforcement Agency described this crash. The fire had been so intense that literally the plane was burned down to the outline of a plane on the ground, and that there would be very little for them to send back and no reason for her to come down. So don't worry. This plane crash actually happened, but the plane is destroyed. He's gone. He's dust.
There's no evidence.
Don't even bother.
Don't even worry about your husband who's completely incinerated. You don't have to pay for cremation because there's just ashes.
It's taken care of.
Yeah.
Thrasher's wife finally admitted that she had bought a fake death certificate and concocted the tale of the Jamaican plane crash. She said that she was worried that her property would be confiscated if the authorities found out her husband was on a drug run when he died. Then, in May of 1986, one of Thrasher's former associates showed up. He had something he claimed was recovered in the crash. It was Wallace Thrasher's wedding ring. The ring was in perfect condition. The inscription as sharp as the day it had been engraved. Agent Donald Lincoln of the Drug Enforcement Agency was suspicious of this, thinking that, this plane had burned so hot that it's amazing that this tarnished ring was able to be recovered.
Not a piece of ash caught in that engraving.
Right. Did Thrasher really die in a fiery plane crash in the jungles of Central America, or did the squirrel once again dash to freedom?
Look, that's why they call him the squirrel.
Yep. He was able to outrun the law. Agent Donald Lincoln says that, I think at the time that Mr. Thrasher disappeared, he was facing a lot of different problems, and it may have been opportune for him to, as they say, exit stage left.
Who says that?
This guy. Let me look at the wiki.
What happened? What happened to the squirrel? Where is he now?
Where is the squirrel?
Do you think he's still living a life of opulence and luxury?
I assume so.
Nice.
Unresolved. In August 2015, prosecutors dropped all of the charges against Wallace, citing unspecified evidence that he is dead. The decision was made after a routine open case review. Prosecutors stated that even if he is alive, it would be difficult to convict him because too much time has passed and witnesses have died or are no longer available. Most investigators now believe that he probably died in the Belize plane crash. However, that's the third plane crash.
Okay.
However, neither he nor his remains have ever been located. In 2020, author Ron Peterson Jr. released a book about the case titled Chasing the Squirrel.
Amazing.
He learned about the case while working on a book for another Virginia case. He interviewed Wallace's family and friends, former drug smuggling associates, and several former investigators. A Los Angeles film company acquired the rights to the book and is currently producing a multi-episode documentary series about it called Where's Wally? Most of those interviewed in the book will also be interviewed on camera for the series.
I'm disappointed they didn't incorporate the word squirrel into the title.
Yeah, me too. Most of Wallace's loved ones, including his children, maintain that he died in the Belize crash, while others believe that he faked his death and may still be alive. Peterson believes that he initially faked his death, but actually died sometime later.
Yeah, even if you fake your death, I guess eventually you will die.
Eventually you do die. His family still hopes to find his remains, if there's anything left, and bring him back to the United States for burial.
Well,
so look for Where's Wally on Netflix or wherever the fuck that's going to be.
Yeah. R.I.P. Squirrel.
R.I.P. to the squirrel. Or not. Maybe he's still out there scampering around.
Yeah. Enjoying his primo marijuana.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so we have one last case. This is Last Love. This is kind of my new favorite case.
Oh, I forgot about the Last Love in this one.
It's short but hilarious. So, Robert Stack says, what are the odds that someone in the world looks exactly like you? 1 in a million? 1 in 50 million?
Is this a fact or fiction opening?
I know.
What is this?
It basically is. The chances of standing nose to nose with your double seem beyond calculation. And then the camera pans, but it pans to Robert Stack. It's a camera trick. It's like he's there. No, he's there. He's his own double.
This is some Jonathan Frakes shit.
It really is. Okay, so this is the story of a young soldier named Ken Palmer. In December 1943, Ken was a second lieutenant in the Army Air Corps, traveling from Texas to Wisconsin in uniform. During a quick stop to change trains in Cincinnati, Ken had, quote, the most remarkable encounter of his life. Ken could feel that someone was staring at him, and when he looked around, he saw another soldier who looked exactly like him, staring at him. Like, they both were like, holy shit, that guy looks exactly like me. And they were just standing there, flabbergasted.
They're also dressed alike because they're both soldiers? Yeah. This is wild.
They had slightly different uniforms, but otherwise looked exactly the fucking same. And the reenactment is them just standing there, staring at each other, both putting their bags down in unison and literally just standing there. And then they slowly shook hands. To make matters weirder, the guy's last name was also Palmer.
Yeah.
Ken was from Brownsville, Minnesota, and the two of them, after like awkwardly shaking hands and introducing themselves, started to go through their family trees because clearly they're related somehow, but they couldn't figure it out. However, both of them had the same family story about fleeing from India to England, which also didn't seem like that could possibly be a coincidence. He got his doppelganger's name and address, stuffed it into his pocket before he had to catch his train. And Ken tells us, if I had the sense God gave geese, I would have stopped right then and we could have spent some time together.
Have you ever heard this phrase before?
No.
My family says it all the time.
Really?
The sense God gave a goose.
That's so funny. We have to call this episode that.
The sense God gave a goose.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, there we go. Guys from Minnesota.
It must be a regional saying.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, okay, so he's kind of hard on himself that he like got on his train. I think he was just so flabbergasted he couldn't really process what was happening and was like, I've got to catch my train.
Yeah, and then he dropped that piece of paper or whatever.
Yeah, but the thing is, by the time he got on the train, the paper with that guy's address and information is gone, and he couldn't remember the guy's first name. And he never saw his double again and was unable to track him down. So this segment was trying to find who his doppelganger was. He had some he was like, I think he's from the East Coast and maybe his name is James. But clearly had been like so overwhelmed by the experience that he didn't hang on to any details. Mac was like, this guy wasn't real. So he's like, the paper was gone? Did he see a ghost?
It seems a little ghostly.
Is it a figment of his imagination? Was
This is the beginning of a Dickens novel. Yeah.
The sad thing is there's no update, and Ken passed away at age 90, and we don't know if he ever found his double.
You know, some people, whenever we do a Q&A, people always ask, what's your favorite mystery, or what's the one mystery you'd want solved? And I feel like this might top my list now. Like, I need to know how they were related.
Okay, this is my theory, is that his dad had a second family.
Could be.
Because they, like, go through their family tree, and they can't find a relation, and I was like, but you literally have the same last name and the same family story.
You're right. I bet that's it.
I feel like his dad had
And they're about the same age, and they looked exactly alike.
And the same last name.
So they could have been half-brothers.
And so I don't know if the dad was like using a different first name with his second family, and that's why they didn't immediately figure, something like that.
Right, you could do that before the internet.
Yeah, I mean, this was in 43.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe sometimes their dad went by Bob, and sometimes he went by John.
If their dad was in the military, too, he could have been...
He's like, my dad's just a humble traveling salesman. If we don't see him half the year, right? That's my theory.
Yeah, I like this theory.
Is that
I gotta know. The
dad had a second family. But it's wild. And it's unfortunate that they didn't get they probably would have been great friends.
Yes.
Probably half brothers or something.
Damn.
I know. Okay, so now we're at the end of the episode, and we have to rate it by law.
All right, mysteriousness.
Okay.
This last one, very mysterious.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, the plane one is kind of mysterious, too.
Yeah, which of these many plane crashes did he die in?
Yeah.
Which ones were real?
Where's Pam's body? I don't know how mysterious the Pam one is, but we don't know where she is.
We don't know exactly what happened, so I'm going to say thumbs way up for this.
Yeah, thumbs up. Reenactments.
I actually loved them. I love...
That explosion?
The explosion...
Some money went into that.
They clearly had a lot of fun with the explosion. I loved everything about the last segment reenactment.
It was great.
The two men
on the train platform.
Like, what? I love the video store reenactments.
Those were great.
That guy's truck is hilarious. I mean, solid.
Very good reenactments, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Fashion.
Really nothing super notable.
Yeah, and the mustaches were sort of run of the mill.
Yeah. Oh, I did have one more mustache I forgot to say from your Dabonier drug dealer. There was a special agent, David, and his mustache, this is the worst mustache we've seen in a while. It's like a weird semicircle.
Yeah, I do remember this now that you remind me.
Too circular. Mm-hmm. So that is called a travesty of justice. Because I hated it.
All our mustache names are so negative.
Well, I mean, what can I say? It's because it's being interpreted by me.
It is understandable.
No, this is the opposite of an MVM because I hated that mustache so much. It was unsettling.
So does that mean a thumbs down for the fashion category? We usually fold mustaches into fashion.
Absolutely thumbs down.
Okay, so thumbs down for that. Robert Stack.
Okay, I'm gonna say thumbs up. He wasn't in it enough, but he was happy about the squirrel.
Yeah, he saw himself in a young squirrel.
And also that shot where it's like, could you meet your double? There he is again. So silly. So silly. And
You're
he's
right.
like kind of grinning, like,
You're right. I liked that a lot.
So, thumbs
yeah.
up.
Okay, thumbs up. So this is overall a good episode. I mean,
feel like it's pretty solid.
there's some real mysteries in here.
Yeah. And I think you get a good mix of stuff. You get a missing person. You get this arson, which we haven't really had a arson turned murder case before to discuss.
Marson.
Yeah. We haven't had a good Marson in a while. We've done debonair drug dealers, but were they called the squirrel? No. And I love this lost love.
Yeah.
I might even say this is a 4.
I think I'm leaning towards a 4. I liked this one.
I don't think you should skip any segment in this. We didn't get an
There's
unnecessary
no
update. Yeah. And
It's a solid episode.
the arson is sad, but also you should watch it just to like remember these people and what happened.
It's
and
interesting, and the reenactment is well done, and they interview
very
the families,
respectful
and
yeah.
I think it was good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 4.
4.
I feel like we haven't had a 4 in so long.
It's been a dry spell.
Because I think we get pickier and pickier also.
Yeah, the bar is raised.
And this one was just pretty enjoyable.
I liked it.
No real complaints for me.
Yeah.
I know, it's hard to believe. Okay, so, wow, we've been chatting for a while, but I'm going to do a quick recommendation, which I just finished reading the very popular book, Crying in H Mart. And I apologize that I do not know how to say this person's last name because I've never heard it out loud. Michelle Zauner? Zauner? How would you say that? Zauner?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I probably would. I don't know if that's right either. I don't know that I've heard it out loud.
I apologize if that's incorrect. Anyway, this book is has done very well. This is a food related memoir by the musician who is the face of the band Japanese Breakfast. I think she does the singing and guitar and writes all the songs. I actually didn't know that when I requested this book from the library. I just heard that it was good, and I was on the list to get it for like a year probably. I think
It's very popular. I've seen it on various YouTube videos.
It's actually overdue at the library, and I saw that more than 300 people are waiting for it, so I really got to bring it back. It's only been a couple days, everyone. It's only
How dare you.
slightly overdue. I had to finish it because it'll be another year.
You'll never get it again. Yeah.
But anyway, you don't have to know anything about her musical work to appreciate the book. It's not really about that at all. It's specifically about her relationship with her Korean mother, who died when the author was only like 25, pretty young. She died of cancer. So it's about her relationship with her mother and their connection through Korean food. Her mother is Korean, her dad is white American, and so it's a bit about growing up biracial in the United States and feeling left out from that and not feeling that connected to Korea, but also that being a really important part of her life.
Oh, sure.
And how her and her mother bonded through food, and how her mother was pretty judgmental and not particularly supportive of her in a lot of ways, says me as an American. I was like, I don't know about this woman, but she loved her mother very much, and this is kind of a tribute to her and like the time she spent caring for her as she was dying.
Yeah.
It's very sad, but it's extremely well written. I saw a Goodreads review that described it as being written almost as if she didn't expect anyone else to read it.
Interesting.
And I would agree with that it has just a sort of very casual honesty to it that I think most people would not be comfortable with.
Okay.
Sort of revealing, not in a like attention-seeking way, but just being very honest about the conflicted emotions that she had during this time. And
sure, that's not how you would expect to.
Right. Like, for example, like a friend comes to help care for her mother for a long time, but then she ends up sort of resentful of this woman spending so much time with her mother when they don't have that much time left, right?
Yeah.
So on the one hand, she's like, well, it's great that you're here helping, but on the other hand, like, I wish I was getting this time, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just very honest about things like that. I think it's written in a very simple but super effective way. The use of language is so good, where it's very readable, but it just conveys a lot. And I think that's a very hard thing to do.
Oh, definitely.
So I would definitely recommend it. I felt like it lived up to the hype. I had heard only good things, and I was like, well, I'll read it, but, how could it really be that good? And I actually thought it was great. I think I would have probably gotten more out of it if I have lost a parent, which I have not, and I am not Asian American.
Are you going to read the Jeanette McCurdy book next?
Yes. Oh my god! So
you just go to another hyped grief memoir.
I feel like so. Samantha's referring to the hit book "I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead," which is kind of probably the total opposite of this book in a way, because
he sounds like it.
This was like much more of a loving tribute of a complicated relationship, and I'm sure the Jeanette one is too, but it's literally called
way. I'm glad my mom is dead. Yeah,
because her mom, if you don't know, was so abusive and terrible that her death is like allows her to be free and live her own life for the first time. And I do really want to read that.
I've heard nothing but good things. We were talking about it at our last book club meeting, and I don't gravitate towards memoirs generally, but I think I'm going to read it just because everyone is, and it sounds like it's really good. And also she reads the audiobook. If you get the audiobook, apparently she reads it, so I'm into that. I also want all of the Nickelodeon goss. Oh, yeah, I want all of the juicy details about all of that. So I don't know how much of that is in there, but
I also just, the cover is so good. It's like almost like a Sweet Valley High cover, but it's her holding this like lavender colored urn.
Yeah.
That would, supposedly her mother. Oh, so good. What a great choice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to read that.
Power to her.
So maybe you'll get my review.
Yeah, I feel like this would be if you don't generally like memoirs, I feel like this book would be good to read anyway, because it's so focused on a singular time.
Okay.
That it reads more like a novel and a little less like, let me tell you my whole life story.
Sure.
Because it has a pretty narrow focus.
Yeah.
And you get to learn a lot about Korean food, which made me hungry. And
oh yeah, gosh, yes.
So that was cool too.
Nice. Awesome. That's a really good recommendation.
Do you have a recommendation?
I was trying to think about what I was going to recommend, and the only thing that came to mind is that Travis and I just finished watching that documentary about the 1999 Woodstock Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Called Trainwreck. Have you watched it?
I have not. I mean, I remember when that happened.
It is wild. It's wild. Just like the footage that they have. It's like kind of like a fire festival documentary, because it was as the title implies, train wreck. But I can't describe it as anything other than it is like watching a train. It is like that phrase of watching a train wreck, and you cannot tear your eyes away. I really liked it. I thought it was a wild ride the whole way through. If you haven't watched it and you're looking for something, give it a try. I think I told you last night that I tried to watch the Netflix documentary about John McAfee last night, and that was like such a bizarre experience that I quit halfway through the first episode.
That sounded awful.
So don't watch that. That's my anti-recommendation. Really good. If you have been yearning for another Fire Festival documentary and you haven't had anything scratch that itch, which I kind of do. I mean, I loved that era.
We're all just waiting for a guy to totally calmly and rationally look dead in the camera and be like, I was there willing to suck his dick to get that avian water through customs.
There isn't a moment like that in this documentary.
Okay,
I mean, could there be?
That is the documentary moment of the century.
But there are some very clueless dopes who were really just like, oh yeah, it's just gonna be another peace and love, man, and blah blah blah, even though it was like not ever going to be that. And even like the way they designed it was like very capitalistic. Sure. But at the same time they were like, instead of security, they like had these like teenage volunteers who were like doing ecstasy. And this one guy they interviewed, he was walking around wearing, it was like the Peace Patrol or something is what he was like these yellow shirts, and this is what they had instead of security. And there was like hundreds of thousands of people here, right? And instead of security, they had these teenagers walking around. I can't imagine what they were paying them, but he said that some drunk guy came up to him and was like, hey, what does that shirt get you? And he lied and was like, oh, it gets you backstage, you can meet the artist, all this blah, blah, blah. And so he sold his t-shirt to this guy. He had another one in his car. And so he was like, he may have had a couple. And so he was like selling his t-shirt, or like trading them for drugs or whatever. Like that is what was going on at this. It's just wild the whole way through. It's tragic. There's assaults that happen. I mean, it's not all like fun and games. Obviously, the place like burned to the ground.
No, I vaguely recall from 99, yeah, just how terribly it went and how corporate it was. And like bottled water was so expensive that everybody was like passing out from dehydration.
Yes, well, so many of the vendors left because they were, it was like a whole weekend riot. Like, it was wild. And the musical acts were also like inciting the crowd too. They would be like, look, can you please like tone it down or ask the crowd to like calm it down or whatever. And some of the acts would just straight up be like, fucking tear the place down, and just like whipped the crowd into a frenzy.
Not even the tiniest bit surprised.
So like a lot of the vendors left, and so the water was contaminated, basically. Like, no one could drink it. Like, you would turn on the tap and the free water would be brown. Ugh. And then like all of the vendors were leaving, so there ended up only being like a couple vendors left that were selling water, and they just price gouged the heck out of like water. And so like everyone was drinking all weekend. They were on drugs. They weren't drinking water. They were staying up all night. It was super hot. And then they were just passing out and getting trampled. And
at the concerts I've been to recently at bigger venues, there have been security people just walking around handing out free bottled water, which I think is really great. Because
a good thing to do, because you don't want people passing out in the mosh pit.
Right. Like, honestly, it's a security hazard for them to have people collapsing and then try to figure out
how to get them out.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's an issue where people don't want to lose their spot. So
you stay where you are and you don't go get some water.
So now security guards instead of saying this is going to be $7, they're just like, please take some free water. And I'm sure it's cost effective for them. It helps everybody stay nice and hydrated. Also, this is Minnesota. You can honestly ask someone next to you to save their spot, and they actually will.
Yes, that's true.
So
this is not happening at Woodstock 99, but
stay hydrated, everyone. Don't collapse in the mosh pit.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was a wild ride. I enjoyed watching it.
I am curious. So I feel like the original Woodstock is like so over glamorized that there's like no way it could possibly have been that good.
I don't know. I mean, the guy that ran Woodstock 99 was describing it as like a religious experience, but he's also an unreliable narrator because he like, you can tell right from the beginling. But they don't really go into that in the documentary. That's interesting.
I'm guessing that, do we have any listeners that were the original Woodstock? I'm guessing, I feel like it's not that many people. Everybody acts like they were there, but that's impossible. But I feel like it's just one of those things that over time people have just like
romanticized it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Joni Mitchell wasn't even there. How great could it have been?
Right.
Okay. So that brings us to the end.
Yeah, that's it.
You should join our Patreon if you want to get a sweet Mothman erotica notebook.
Yes, if you want to get a Mad Lib, I'm leaving you letter.
I was the best lover you ever had, and you were the best lover I ever had, and now I'm leaving. The Mad Lib letter.
But you'll have to sign up for how is that, a $5 a month?
That's $5 to get a coloring sheet.
You get a coloring sheet every month, which is a good deal, I think. Join the Lennie Briscoe fan club and send us a picture of your pet, and we will name it.
New service we're offering. I think that's...
If you're already a member of the Lennie Briscoe fan club, I feel like you can send us...
reach out. Yeah. We'll do it. Absolutely.
We'll name your pets. Yeah. Email us at perhapsitsyou@gmail.com, a picture of your pet. We will let the name come to us in a vision.
Yeah. We won't just name all of the dogs Betamax.
Or Johnny Pool Noodle.
As tempting as that may be. Recently we had a poll on Patreon of what people wanted us to put our energy into, what we should do next, and to my surprise, the answer was Q&A episode,
which required the least amount of energy.
Yeah,
so I appreciate everyone who voted
fabulous
for that one.
So if you have any questions for us,
about when are we going to do that? Is that going to be a?
I don't know. We'll have to, when we have enough questions, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we need more questions.
So if you have any questions for us, you could post those in the Facebook group or email them to us at perhapsitsyouPodcast@gmail.com or on social media.
If you're on the Patreon, you can go find that post.
Yeah, that would be helpful so they're all in one place. But we just need enough questions to do a full episode. So send in your questions. And also, if you have a spooky story, maybe
email
you
us.
Saw something darker than the darkness, or you met new Michelle, send that in as well.
perhapsitsyouPodcast@gmail.com or perhapsitsyou.com is the contact form.
You should be listening to this episode on Repod, the best podcasting app out there, because they gave us money And you know what? No one is ever going to do that again. Honestly.
No, we got offered the dumbest shit. They actually gave us money, so they're our favorite.
No one is ever going to make that mistake again. But Repod has been so good to us, and no one else will. If you think you can beat that offer, try. But
please send us your offer.
I'm really doubtful. So make sure that you download and support them. It's I like that you can comment on individual episodes and you can timestamp your comments. And it does have perks other listening thingies don't have. So
yes.
Is that it? Are we done?
As far as I know, I think we're done.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Keep bargaining.